It's almost light enough to see what I'm doing out here, and I'm going to set the camera down, go in and turn the key on, and see how she runs. Going to do a compression check next. So the compression does not look very good. Well, I believe I found the problem of why this engine is not idling. It was idling very rough. I made a rookie mistake, and I had put some pieces of paper towel in the intake to keep things out of it, and when I cranked it over, well, you know what happened. It sucked it up into the valves. So I'm in the process of cleaning everything out. I believe I've got it all cleaned out now. What I did is I would use a vacuum cleaner to suck it out this way, and I would also use a vacuum cleaner on the intake. Stick the hose down the intake. I would go back and forth either from the spark plug hole or the intake for each cylinder. And then I took an air compressor and I stuck my nozzle down in there and I helped blow it out, and I was getting little pieces of paper towel out that look a little bit like this, and bigger ones. So then I finally decided to soak each cylinder down with a bunch of carburetor cleaner and also a lot of WD-40 because I didn't want to get the oil off the rings. And between the carburetor cleaner and the WD-40, it pretty much took care of disintegrating paper towels like this, even though there was only a small piece in each intake port. What I have now is I do a compression check on all the cylinders, and I'm just picking this one as at random. They're all pretty much like this. Now they have oil in them, so they're going to be a little higher. I believe they do come out about 150 without the oil, but here's what it looks like on number 3. And when I first started doing this, I was getting nothing blowing out back at me. I'm standing right in the direct line of fire from the cylinders, and you can feel the air rushing out at you. When I first started this, I was having very little of that coming out at me. I think number 4 here, the one that actually had the rocker arm off, the push rod off the rocker arm, I believe that one was the one that was actually working the best. And I torqued the bolts down on the rocker arms, and in a sequence, I think I went to 23 foot-pounds, I believe it was, and they're all pumped up now. As you can see, I got this at a number 3. So that's what I did, and then when I had the compression come up, I knew I'd gotten most of the paper towel out. However, let me show you something else that I did. Okay, I bought an endoscope, and what this does is it allows me to look inside the cylinder. I went in the spark plug holes, each one, and I also went in the intake port, up the intake port, and looked inside there looking for any paper towel that I might need to want to retrieve. So I'm going to put a little video up of this doing its job, and between the vacuum cleaner, the air compressor, and this to check, I believe I have my, and of course my compression tester, I believe I have my my engine back to go again. Also, to help me roll the engine around without a helper, I couldn't find my other one, so I picked up a handheld remote starter, and this thing works like a charm. Anyway, you can lay it flat and lay it around. It works really well. So what I'm going to do now is use the endoscope, if that's what it's called, an endoscope. And by the way, it does come with, I believe, 16 feet of cable there. And turn it on. It automatically comes on at a 6 brightness. And I've just been using it at that. It seems to be the best for me. So I'm going to go in number 3 spark plug hole. And I go a little too fast. I'm still getting used to this. And this is what I'm getting so far. There we go. It does have a zoom feature, and I can still see little pieces of towel in there. And I'm not seeing any large pieces of paper towel in my cylinders. I've already done this with most of them. Okay, now I'm going to go around and get a picture of the inside of the intake. So I'm going to leave a link to where I bought this, and I'll also leave a link to the remote starter switch as well. And what I have to do now is put it all back together and fire it up and see what the outcome is. Well, I kind of had to put my tools in here and cover everything up because I had to get some new gaskets, so I was waiting on new gaskets to get here, and they're finally here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this little fella back together again. Very shortly you should be watching me fire it up. Well, as usual, I forgot to film me turning the key over, but it's been running now for about 1 or 2 minutes. I've got a lot of smoke coming out the exhaust. Cylinders, there's a lot of oil in the exhaust pipe, not to mention probably some very oily paper towels. The engine is not warm yet, and it will be burning some more off if it gets warm, or when it gets warm. Let me show you what's going on in here. A lot of smoke. As you can see, the temperature is really cold. Oil pressure is about that, whatever that is. And battery's okay, fuel's okay. The tachometer's, when it warms up, it should drop to around 650, somewhere in there. Anyway, I'm sorry, I forgot to show it cranking over, and it was a little iffy at first because it took a while for the fuel to get up into the cylinders. And for a minute there I was questioning whether or not I had any the distributor hooked up properly, or the firing order, because there was no firing or nothing. After 2 or 3 tries, it finally started, and it was ticking and everything else, but it's smoothing out. Still smoking pretty good though. If it continues that, I will have to address other issues. Alrighty, it's been about 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. Been letting it idle or running it up to about 2,000 at times, maybe 2,500. And still getting a tiny bit of smoke when I run it up. You can see a little bit coming out. Well, maybe not. But it's settled down a bunch. Okay, she's warmed up now. The idle looks more like 850. Temperature's, it's about where it runs actually. I don't think it ever gets up to the end. And, or the end. So, I'm gonna leave her run some more and run her up a little bit more, and that'll do it. But for right now, I think she's running pretty good. I can move her. I can drive her. And it's Cars, Trucks, and Detours. Thanks everyone for subscribing and watching, and